Okay, welcome. We'll make a start. Welcome to the webinar tonight on how to raise your love energy with myself, Dr. Tracey Hunter, psychologist and relationship coach. So tonight I'm going to be talking about how to apply the physics of love in your relationships and in your life and create relationships filled with appreciation, excitement, energy, and new possibilities. All right, so yeah, this is a pretty big topic, love. So I'm feeling pretty brave and courageous tackling this tonight, especially taking the slant of talking about love as an energy. All right, so let's get started on the physics of love. All right, so just a bit about the heart first. Our heart is a very powerful organ of our body. It's far more powerful, in fact, than our brains. Can you imagine that? In fact, the heart's magnetic field is up to 5,000 times more powerful than the magnetic field from the brain, and it can actually be detected up to 3 meters away from the physical body. So what does that mean? Is that basically means that we're sending a signal, yeah? We're sort of transmitting a signal out to people in a similar way that I guess other animals do. They sort of put out sort of vibrations in the through the airfields. So that's really important for us to understand that when people come into contact with us, we are actually giving off a particular energy that other people can actually detect. All right, so that's what we're going to be exploring tonight, is how you can raise your own love energy and what are some of the things that block you transmitting this love energy, you know, to your loved ones, to the people that you most want to be receiving it. All right, so let's make a start. I'm going to tell a story of 3 little children first, so we can understand a little bit about the sort of programming that leads to this love energy. Okay, so first here we have Sam, and Sam grew up in Lovetown. And what was it like growing up in Lovetown? Well, Sam grew up in a town where everyone was very generous. They gave a lot of love. Everyone appreciated one another, gave each other compliments, told one another when they weren't available to do something for each other. So everyone was really clear about ideas about give and take. And so there we have Sam sort of growing up surrounded by people who are very clear about this sort of give and take, receiving and giving energy of love. Okay, then here we have Joe. So Joe grew up in a pretty standard regular house where his mum and dad were quite stressed about money, and they would come home and be very frustrated and impatient. And you know, here's Joe over here wondering, you know, I wonder if Dad's in a bad mood, wonder if Mum's in a bad mood, I have to put my toys away quickly. So little Joe grew up with the idea that it was because that their parents had children that they were poor, and his parents made it very clear about that. So he felt very bad and guilty about the impact that he was having on his parents. Okay, and then finally, our third story here is little kitty called Pete. He grew up in a household with a fair bit of tension between his mum and dad, where, you know, although his mother was quite warm and loving towards him, the little boy, that, you know, for some reason his father would be very impatient with his mum and sort of really blow off steam with her a lot of the time. So he got the idea that is actually not safe to be very loving and giving and generous. All right, so let's have a look at what kind of programming this led to for these 3 children. Okay, so first here we have Sam. So Sam received the programming of give and receive energy. All right, so what is give and receive energy? What kind of programming is that? Well, that is one where Sam enjoys giving others a hand, helping out when available. Sam appreciates also receiving compliments, gifts, support from others. Sam says no when depleted of energy. Sam is fine with own boundaries and other people's boundaries. And Sam assumes the best in others and practices loving thoughts. So that's the kind of programming that Sam was fortunate enough to be exposed to in the past. Okay. How about Joe? Well, Joe received the programming of what we're calling compliance energy. So what is compliance energy and what's the programming of this? It's a programming where love became entangled with compliance and sacrifice. Is a people pleaser. Joe tolerates unloving or self-absorbed behaviour from others. Joe also apologises a lot and assumes responsibility for others' bad moods. Joe is not clear with boundaries and limits and feels guilty saying no or focusing on Joe's own needs. Joe might also stay silent about complaints or makes a complaint once and then gives up and doesn't say it again. Joe assumes that others see them as unworthy of love. And Joe ends up feeling drained and depleted in relationships and therefore struggles with love and intimacy. Okay, so some of you may be quite familiar with this compliance energy. Right, then we have what's called controller energy. So what is this kind of programming? Let's have a look. So this is Pete. So love for Pete was entangled with control and power struggles. Pete believes that giving love actually weakens you because for Pete, he witnessed one parent where this sort of giving love and being very generous with affection and nurturance actually made his mother the weaker one in the partnership. Pete is highly sensitive to signs of anger in another person and is quick to become defensive. Assumes others will take advantage of them if they're generous and loving. Pete also believes that love is a zero-sum game where one person wins and the other loses. Pete ends up pushing partners away or gives the impression that they do not love them and therefore also struggles with love and intimacy. Okay, so my question for you all, and you don't need to type this in, I'm happy for you to just answer this in your own head, is what do you believe has blocked the flow of love energy in your intimate relationships in the past or in the present? A would be too much compliance energy, and to know if you identify with this type of energy or programming, it would be if I feel depleted by what I have on offer to give, but I don't feel that my generosity is returned or appreciated. Or B, too much controller energy. So I feel afraid to be too generous or tender with my partner in case they use it against me. Or C, there are no blocks to love energy in my relationships. There's a beautiful balance of give and receive on both parts. And if you're wondering which programming I might have, I identify with all three, and I've managed to work out how to move through the first two, the compliance energy and controller energy, and work out how to, I suppose, upload the give and receive energy of love. Okay, so it's very important for us to understand that love energy is a give and receive. It's never one way. It's a two-way energy. There's always a giving and receiving that's going on with love. It's not like one person is more worthy of receiving more love and the other person is less worthy and therefore ought to be doing more of the giving of love. All right. So briefly, I'll give you a snapshot of what is required to heal this compliance energy. This is something that for some people that I've worked with has taken a number of years because the wounds are very deep. With other people, when I'm doing intensive coaching, this is something that we might move through within a 3-month period. Okay, so in a nutshell, to heal compliance energy, this is what is required. We need to learn how to rewire our brain to receive love, to receive compliments, to receive support, to receive gifts, to receive money, to receive affection. And that requires us to sort of open up and accept all of these gifts of love that others are providing to us and that life is providing to us. We also would need to train our nervous system to turn inwards and trust your emotions and your body to tell you when you're depleted, not base that on what other people are asking of you, but that to be more of an inwards process where you turn inwards to your own energy levels, and based on that you decide how much you have in your energy bucket to give away in any given moment. You would also need to train your nervous system to set boundaries and to cope with guilt when you say no. Usually people with this compliance energy are very empathic and they actually care a lot about people around them, and therefore naturally they feel guilty when they put boundaries in place and say no. But we can actually train our nervous system to cope with feelings of guilt without acting on the feelings of guilt, without necessarily taking the behavior and complying and doing what others are asking of us. We can just feel guilty but still set a boundary. And for someone with this type of programming, they would need to learn how to disentangle love from a sense of sacrifice and develop a sense of worthiness to receive love. And this is not something that would happen just through reading this slide or even having just an intellectual awareness of it. It actually takes practice to put it into actual practice in your relationships, whether that's at work, with your own children, in your intimate relationships, in your friendships, in all areas of your life. Okay, so to heal controller energy then, what do we need to do for this type of programming? We would need to learn how to rewire our brain to give love, attention, and your presence in a very generous way. For someone with this type of energy, they would need to train their nervous system to see your loved one's complaints as a plea for connection with you, as opposed to an attack. If you can train yourself to see your loved one's complaints as a plea for connection, then that's a very sort of a loving invitation to actually come closer to them, as opposed to defend yourself as if there's some kind of battle. To heal controller energy, you would need to learn how to train your nervous system to allow your partner to influence you by looking for their request underneath their complaints. And that's a Gottman principle, is allowing your partner to influence you. And it's been found to be one of the key factors in thriving marriages. And someone with this type of programming would need to learn how to disentangle love from a sense of lack and develop a sense of abundance when giving love. The idea that by giving love, I get filled up too, because it's just a matter of time where it's coming back in my direction, as opposed to the idea that when you give love, that you'll miss out and you'll have less left over for yourself. All right, so now I'm actually going to invite everyone to close their eyes and do an activation. And I'm going to record this so that we can play it back at any other time. All right. So I invite you to close your eyes. I invite you to close your eyes and imagine that there is this source of love energy that already exists within every living thing, every person, every animal, every plant, everything that has life. And bring your attention now to your own physical body. Imagine this energy is active in your entire body, in every bone, every organ, and every cell. Now I invite you to imagine somebody that you find it very easy to exchange this love energy with. Perhaps it's a child, or your pet dog, or your pet cat. See this energy being sent from your heart to theirs, as if you could see physically this energy moving from your heart to theirs. And as you send this love energy towards that person, child, or animal, see them receiving it with full appreciation. Now reverse that and see this love energy coming back in your direction. Their appreciation is being now sent back to you, and you're receiving it. And imagine that this is a cycle of give and receive. There's no blocks. There's no hoarding. There's no lack of this love energy. The more you give, the more you receive. And it never runs out. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Okay, so what I invite you to just reflect on briefly right now is this sense that that give and receive cycle of love ideally is what we are generating in our intimate relationships, that both people feel fulfilled and energized, and there isn't this sense of depletion, or that one person is hoarding all of the love energy and the other person is missing out. And if there was that sense of a real imbalance, then I would invite you to consider whether there's too much compliance energy or too much control energy occurring that's blocking that give and receive of love. Okay. So just moving on now to if any of this that we've spoken about tonight is something that you identify with, and it's something that you would like to unblock for yourself, then I actually do coaching with people to improve their intimate relationships, to create thriving intimate relationships by looking at all of these imbalances. I actually work with dualities. I work with masculine and feminine, give and receive, just all the balance that's required in thriving intimate relationships. So firstly, coaching with me, I provide month-to-month private coaching for women or men in the early stages of dating. And the investment there is $1,200 per month per person. And the focus of this coaching on a month-to-month basis is on raising and maintaining attraction and energy, coaching through the uncertainty and the rejection that comes up in dating, and balancing feminine and masculine energy. All right, so moving on from that, also I offer 3-month private coaching packages to singles or couples. And the focus over the 3-month package is on breaking more ingrained patterns of compliance or controller energy blocks, otherwise known as codependence or just coexisting patterns in intimate relationships, and to prepare for or shift into a more thriving intimate relationship, whether that is sort of 1 year into a relationship prior to starting a relationship or 20 years into a relationship. And finally, my mentor program, the Intimacy Shift, which is for women only, and that's a group coaching program over 6 months. So what it is a 6-month journey to the feminine psyche. It's for courageous women who are ready to totally heal and transform themselves and to retrain their heart and their brain to allow love to be the dominant force in their lives and relationships. And so the investment for this program is about the same investment as what it would cost to do a university subject. And I have finance plans starting at $100 per week, if that is something that calls you. All right, so the next program is starting in July, and it goes for 6 months. Okay. So if you'd like to know a little bit more about any of my coaching programs, I invite you to check out my Facebook page, which is Dr. Tracey Hunter, or my Instagram page, or my website, which is theintimacyshift.com. And if doing coaching with me is something that you would like to explore, I invite you to book in a 15-minute phone call with me, and the link to do that is here, and I'll also post it in the chat box. If you're curious about some reviews of the Intimacy Shift from the women who are doing my program at the moment, you can check out this link here, which I'll also paste in the chat box. All right, so thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope that you have taken something really important about the actual field that goes on around us, that's transmitted from our hearts, and that this affects our contact with all people more from an energy perspective, something that we can't see. But I think you can sort of appreciate that you can pick up on other people's energy if you think about, you know, someone who's very angry and what it's like to be in their presence versus someone who's very much filled with joy and love. So this is really important to understand why we might be blocked in either giving or receiving love. All right, so that's it for the webinar. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope to have contact with some of you soon. Okay, good night.